Fabio Wardley v Frazer Clarke 2 is on. Been ordered by the board. That's what's being reported. I was listening to Fabio this morning, not Fabio, Frazer, on something, and they sort of did ask him when it was, venue, date, and he said he can't say, he's not allowed to say. So I'm assuming a venue and a date is already in place, but we're not allowed to know that yet. But yeah, Fabio Wardley, Frazer Clarke 2 is on. Leading up to that fight, I'm a big fan of Fabio Wardley. I made a couple of videos on Fabio Wardley prior to that fight. I was a big Fabio Wardley fan. I was on the Fabio Wardley train and still am. I still like Fabio Wardley. After that fight, I predicted Fabio Wardley would win. I thought Frazer Clarke hadn't showed me anything yet that showed me that Frazer Clarke was really going to transfer anything special up to the pro ranks. Of course, he'd only fought at a certain level, so my gauging of Frazer Clarke was based on what I'd seen of Frazer Clarke up till that point as a pro. Of course, Frazer Clarke had only fought up to a certain level, which wasn't very high. Fabio Wardley was the best guy he'd fought at that point. So going into that fight, I picked Fabio. I picked Fabio on his guile, his sheer tenacity, his sheer will to win, the true fighting heart. He's a hard man, Fabio Wardley. It seemed in fights Fabio Wardley didn't really come alive until he got hurt, and then a real fucking spiteful bastard came out of Fabio Wardley, and that's what we'd seen Fabio Wardley through up to that point, and saw him through on that night against Frazer Clarke. Now, you can debate who won. The draw was given. Never a big fan of draws unless they're really, really hard to split. And they were hard to split on that night. Now, Wardley Clarke 2. So going in that fight, I was a favourite. The favourite for me was Fabio. Ended up a draw. Who impressed me more in that fight? Frazer Clarke did, by quite some way. Frazer Clarke showed more than what I believed he had in kind of every department. I thought he punched with a decent amount of stiffness. He showed a decent amount of power. He rocked Fabio at times. There were times when I thought Fabio was starting to wilt. But, you know, Fabio is made of some fucking real stuff, Fabio is. And Fabio didn't wilt. But technical ability, Frazer showed me more. Skill, Frazer showed me more. He showed me more heart than I thought he had. More inner strength and more guile than I believed he had. Because we hadn't seen him display up to that point. He hadn't had to display up to that point. So I was more impressed with Frazer on the night than I was with Fabio. In my post-fight sort of breakdown, the one thing we talked about was Fabio's shocking lack of defence. Whether it's a technical deficiency that he just hasn't got a defence and can't master it, or just an unwillingness to employ it. Just enjoying to fight so much, just enjoys a war. But I talked about how if Fabio doesn't change that and doesn't address that, Fabio will find himself in a defeat fairly soon. So the second fight, you know, there's a lot of outcomes that fight can have. You know, if Fabio hasn't learned, or if Fabio doesn't choose to employ defence, or Fabio hasn't learned to employ defence and improve a defence and improve defence, there's a very real chance Fabio might lose, because Frazer Clarke will only grow in confidence after that first fight. So nonetheless, really great fight, really great rematch on the horizon, because the first one was a humdinger, wasn't it? Humdinger by all accounts, you know. So Ward Clarke 2 is a deal, a done deal. As of yet, like I say, no released date or venue, but it's been ordered by the board. Believe me, going ahead. So wonderful fighting prospect. And who you got after the first one? I'll be interested to see the split of what you guys think. I know you guys, there's some decent quality judges of fights out there amongst my viewership, which is great to know. Some wonderfully educated boxing fans out there that watch my channel, so that's wonderful. So who you got? Did anyone see the shockingly awful presser? I call them presses, they're not really presses anymore, for Tyson versus Paul. I mean, Paul had got the memo and was doing the bad boy thing, weren't he? And even Mike Tyson couldn't kind of fake it. There was a fake shove and this, that and the other, but you know, even Mike couldn't muster up the monster to play his part in the press conference. But we'll watch that, and we'll watch that for no other reason other than, yes, the morbid fascination of just seeing that freak show. But Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano too is on that for pretty much definite, excuse that. But it was on the billboards behind the press conference that Taylor Serrano too is on that. So, and that's one of the greatest fighting spectacles I've ever seen, and one of the great fights I've ever seen. Taylor Serrano won, so I'll certainly be watching that. And in tow, I'll be watching Tyson v Paul for, again, the freak value of it, I suppose. What else can you call it? Car crash TV, morbid fascination, call it what you like. But Taylor Serrano too is on there, so you know, I'll be watching that as well. Anyway, just talking about that. Clarke, Wardley 2, who you got? Wardley, Clarke 2, who you got? Knowing not we know from the first one, who are you calling in the second one? Let me know. Be interested in what you think. Anyway, I'll see you soon. I'm out.